I'm Tommy Evans from DROIDS Recording Studio, and this is my story. I remember being in a lot of bands all throughout high school. We played a bunch of shows. We didn't do anything outlandish like tour nationally or get signed to any major labels or anything, but we had a lot of fun, and we became pretty well known in the scene that we were in. That was across all the bands that I was in when I was in high school. But I kept getting kicked out of these bands, be it for musical differences or maybe personality differences. I'll be honest, it wasn't at the top of my to-do list to, party or socialize with everybody in the scene at the time. Now, nothing against the guys in the scene at the time. A lot of them are still around now, and they're still active, and I love them to death. But at the time, I've always got multiple priorities going on in my head, and I'm always doing a lot of things. And when I was at band practice or when I was playing shows, that's the time that I spent with my bands. And I just didn't love to fraternize. I had that word with everybody in the scene at the time. So, for better or for worse, maybe that had something to do with it. I wasn't in the inner circle, within the inner circle that the bands that I was in had. Anyways, let's fast forward to one of the bands. We ended up in a recording studio, actually. We were in this guy's basement that he had kind of refurnished and turned into an actual professional-looking recording studio. That's the purpose that the basement serves, so it was exciting. We were actually in a studio, and this guy had this huge desk and all these cool knobs and buttons and rack gear and stuff, and it just felt cool to be in there. Now, I don't want to mention how much we paid, because I don't want to embarrass myself or my parents, because they helped pay for all of my portion, or most of my portion at the time, I'm pretty sure. But here's what happened, man. We showed up on the day that we agreed to all go record at this dude's basement. We unloaded our guitars, we unloaded the drums, set everything up, and the dude said, all right, we're going to record in 3, 2, 1. And he hits the button. And you couldn't mess up. There was no redos. You had to nail it on take one, or else it didn't go on the CD. That's how it was. So you couldn't say, oops, I didn't nail that part. Well, it either goes on the CD messed up, or it gets deleted entirely. That's the kind of vibe that studio had. And I didn't know any better. I thought maybe that's just the way all studios were. About an hour later, we recorded 5 songs in an hour, did all one take. About an hour later, we packed up and we left. The next day, we get our final masters. Now, the studio owner at the time, again, no names, no shade, he had to leave for work early that next morning, so he gave us 5 discs, slid them underneath his welcome mat on his front porch, and we went to go pick them up as soon as we could. We just grabbed the discs and jet. He wasn't there for the drop-off. I remember I opened up the case, and it was this generic silver CD with Sharpie written on it, By the Throat. That was the name of the band that I was in at the time. Love those dudes, still love those dudes, every single one of them. And I remember getting home, putting it in my CD player, and I had never felt more disappointed or more taken advantage of. I was embarrassed, and I was ashamed. I remember not wanting to show anybody. I wanted to hide it away. I didn't throw it away. It's still in this house somewhere, because it pops up every time we move house, which has been a few times since then. It pops up, and I see it, and I just cringe a little bit, and then I kind of shove it back into the back of the box that it came in. But yeah, I couldn't help but think, is this what we paid thousands of dollars for between the 5 of us? Is this what we paid thousands of dollars for, to be let down? To make this face? And just to feel taken advantage of and to feel so underwhelmed and not want to show anybody. Yeah. So, anyways, moving on. Joined a few other bands for various reasons, got kicked out for reasons as I already mentioned. And then I remember one Christmas morning, my parents got me this standalone Boss unit. It was a little hardware standalone thing. It was probably the size of a school notebook that you just put on your desk. And I don't remember asking for it, I don't think, or maybe I did and I just forgot. But anyways, Christmas morning, I opened it up, I realized what it is, and I realized what I can do with it. I think right after that, we quickly had Christmas breakfast or Christmas lunch or whatever it was at the time, and then I ran downstairs into my studio basement at the time, or excuse me, basement bedroom at the time, which I called the studio. I opened it up and I started learning everything about it. I realized I could record myself playing the guitar on this thing. I could record myself playing the bass on this thing. I could program the drums using the drum pad that it came with. That was so much fun as well, learning how to do that. And I realized that I could learn how to do heavy vocals, and I got this all figured out, man. I could be my own band, write whatever music I want, and I can't kick myself out. I feel like I'm struggling, and maybe I am, but it's not something that I love mentioning, that I got kicked out of bands that I formed or that I helped create. It's just... Anyway. So, I started recording myself, everything, drums, guitar, bass, vocals, cool effects that the Boss came with as well. Also at the time I was listening to this band every day called Sky Eats Airplane. I learned, now they were really good at fusing heavy music with breakdowns with like cool techno and electronic drum patterns and effects and stuff as well. And I learned that they were using a software called Reason to do all that electronica stuff. So of course I downloaded Reason, I got a copy of that and messed around with it, and eventually I dropped Reason and I purchased Studio One instead. This was back when Studio One version 1 came out. One of the first ones to use it. So I've grown with Studio One since then. And man, fast forward a little bit more to the first band that I invited over to the studio. I said, okay, I've been recording myself for a while now, and I know how to use the software and blah, 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 and this and that. I think I'm going to have a band come over and actually do this for them now. This is exciting. The first band that I did, they were called Queen Anne's Revenge. They were my brother's band. Super cool dudes. I didn't charge them a single penny because I just wanted to do my brother a favor, of course, and I wanted to say that I did this. You know what I mean? I recorded a band, and I just wanted to say that so bad. Charge nothing. Yeah, it was cool. But before I even hit record, my brother is sitting here in front of me in the basement bedroom studio, and his bandmates are all around as well. And I told him the story about how when I was in high school, I went to this recording studio that was super big and it was very expensive. And I told them the long version of the story that I shared with you guys. And I made a promise right there to them and to myself that I would never let another band or band member feel that way about anything that comes out of DROIDS recording studio. Even thinking about it now, more than 10 years later, it still sucks, and I'm still, I don't know, it is what it is. I can't do anything to change it, but thinking about it now still sucks, man. And if I knew that somebody that I did work for felt the same way, it would crush my spirit as well. I would feel as bad as that guy. So anyways, I promise right then and there, nobody's going to ever feel that way about anything they get from DROIDS. They're going to be excited to run home. They're going to be listening to it in their cars at full volume. They're going to run home, show their friends, show their mom and dad if they helped pay for them, which a lot of them do. They're going to show their parents what they helped them achieve and what they helped the band that they're in accomplish. Look what this money went to. They're proud. They're going to be stoked to show their roommates, their girlfriends, fiancés, husband, wives, whatever. They're going to show everybody in their inner circle what they did here at DROIDS, and they're going to love it because they're going to be proud, because I'm going to make sure that you don't feel the way that I felt so many years ago. So that's my That's my story. No fancy, just from the heart. I'll see you in the next one.